far from our capacities. Movies are a lie, are in our fantasies. The artificial intelligences in the movies simply don't exist and are really, really, really far from achieving our capacities. How many cars that self-drive are working in the States right now? Somebody give me a number. How many self-driven cars are working right now in the States, in the United States? Thousands? Hundreds? Tens? Thousands? Hundreds? Thousands? 10,000s? Tens? In the United States, right now are around 400,000 cars, self-driven cars running in the States. But they don't work perfectly. They fail a small percentage of the time. So they need a person in the car. 99% of the time they can do it by themselves. But that 1% is the one you have to be aware of. And if you don't, well, you can get killed. The same happens with all the artificial intelligences. 99% of all the things can be done with these machines many times, but that 1% requires a person, or more than one person. So we're talking of a mixed, a hybrid scenario where people and machines need to work together. That's the real thing. So whenever you think in introducing an artificial intelligence into a company or a society or whatever, you have to think, well, how is this going to work with people? Because the machines are going to need the people. That's the real thing. This Terminator thing, it's absolute fantasy. So the question is, how is this going to be, where, and how fast? And this is being discovered right now. New business models, new products, everything is very, very active, very, very interesting. And in my companies, we are having a lot of fun sorting this out. What's going to happen is this. It's called the Centaur Scenario, where people and machines work together. This is an experiment done in the Robotics Institute in Carnegie Mellon in 2013, where you had 3 welders, professional welders, soldering the chassis of a Humvee. A Humvee is an army jeep. And they take 89 hours to do it. Anyone in this room working with a machine, the machine showing to you with a laser where to put the parts. The machine welding the parts together takes this amount of time. So we switched from 3 professional people to 1 non-professional person and reducing the time to more than a third. This is what's going to happen. Less people in a single task, working in a fraction of time to do the same things or better things. These are, I'm switching to Chile here. Maybe I'm going too fast. No, it's okay. When you consider all this, and you see the numbers, and you see the speed at which this is happening, you might wonder, well, we don't have any chance here in Chile to do anything. More than 6 months ago, almost a year ago, I had lunch. I had a lunch with the head of the artificial intelligence division of Amazon, global, guy from Africa, very interesting guy. And I asked him, how many people work with you? And he said, I don't know, but it's more than 10,000 people. So the question is, how myself, with my companies, know more than 20 people, how I am going to compete with a guy that's working with 10,000 people? So you may say, well, you don't have a chance. That's true. I cannot produce the same that 10,000 people can produce, but I have an advantage. I'm in Chile. I understand Chile. I understand Latin America. I know the things people like here. A guy in Silicon Valley doesn't have a clue. So that should be a very strong advantage. The other thing is Amazon may have 10,000 people, more than 10,000 people, but they have zillions of projects. So that means that they have, for each of those projects, they may have 30, 40, 50 people. Well, that's a number I can compete with. So we have advantages. So I'm going to go through the opportunities we have in Chile and South America concerning this. This is Chile right now, more or less. You see that in agriculture, the numbers are reducing very, very fast. We are switching to a non-agricultural economy, and in the near future, we'll turn into a modern economy where less than 1% of the people works in something related to the agriculture. So everybody who's thinking that this is going to be a good business, it's very complicated. Now, agriculture is almost having no value in a modern economy. It's different in Chile because we have a strong agricultural component, because we have a very fertile land, and we are off-season compared to a northern hemisphere, so that gives us an advantage. So we'll remain a little bit agricultural, but not much. Then you see the industries here. Manufacturing, not much. 13%. Mining, even though produces a lot of money in the country, it doesn't employ too much people. It's not very relevant in the labor market, but they produce a lot of money. But changes can happen here, because when you acquire the capacity of producing things in a very cheap way, you can get all the manufacturing centers we have in China and put them, for example, in Santiago or Temuco, or I don't know where in Chile. Because now we can produce the things here because it's going to be cheaper. And if you have the production centers here, then you can offer services, very customized services. If you have, I don't know if you saw it, but sort of 1 month ago, there was an article in one of the newspapers about Calcetines Monarch, the only socks company that's surviving in the country. And they explain the following. We're the only survivors in the socks, the Chilean socks market, because we're the only ones that decided not to send the things to China. Because if you send the things to China, then you have to order the things in China almost 13 months ahead. But the socks market has a speed that's more or less you need to react in 3 months. So when you send the things to China, you're losing a competitive advantage. You need to be very close to your market in time, 3 months. But we decided to retain the production capacity here in Chile because that way we retain the capacity to react very fast to the market. And we kept being able of selling socks if we detected a new trend in the market and react in 3 months. So if these technologies allows us to bring back all the production capacity, then new businesses will flourish because we'll have new capacities. So this is the type of things we should be doing and thinking about. If you want to start in a company with this type of technologies, start with the easy things, repetitive tasks, simple tasks. Use, like I say here, for things that are not very well connected to the internet. For example, you cannot have in a salmon cage in the middle of the channels in the fjords of the south something that's running connected to Siri or Google over the internet, because the connection there is going to be awful. So you cannot run mission critical systems over the web. Then you have privacy. Many things are private and are not going to ever to travel through the web. So you can identify those pockets of information that will be forever beyond the reach of the big five, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, etc., and work there. And then you have the cultural differences. I personally would consider something that would be a shame for me and for all of us if the top soccer application of the world comes from Silicon Valley, California. That application should come from Latin America because we understand, we love soccer. Why should somebody somewhere else come up with that idea? That thing is waiting for us to create it. So we should do it. Those are the cultural things we understand better, and we should take advantage of it and use them to create value. The other thing is that you need to work in a digital company. That means a company that has data. If the company doesn't have data, then you can't do much. You have to wait for that company to digitalize all its operations. And the other advantage we have is that Chile is slightly more advanced than all the other countries in Latin America. So whatever you do here in Chile, then you can export it to the other countries in Latin America. So you can think of Chile as a laboratory where you design and test things before you jump to the rest of Latin America. How? You could use the current platforms. You could start with the platforms Google is offering, or Microsoft, or Amazon are offering, with the tools, and assemble products with that. Test them, and then release them into the market. But the thing is that you should never give away what's your value. You cannot give, for example, hire a bunch of programmers and give them the core of your business. That has to remain in your company. The data and the knowledge. So you have to be very careful. For example, if you have a company now and you're using the platforms of Google, you're actually giving all the information of your company to Google. So you have to be very careful, because maybe 3 years later, Google launches a new platform that's going to compete with you directly. So you have to be careful. You have to think strategically. For example, one of the traps that's happening right now that people is not realizing is that because of the privacy concerns of data, for example, the cell phones, nobody, me included, wants his data known by everybody else. So we are enacting laws that are very strong around data protection. But the problem is that Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, etc., have been using all this private data for years, and now they have models of all of us, all our companies, and all our societies. So once these laws start, nobody else will be able to build these models, and they are going to be the only ones with these models. So these laws, yes, are going to protect our data, but also are going to create a stronger difference between the companies that already created these models and the companies that didn't. And the companies that didn't will not be able to compete with Google, Amazon, Facebook, etc., etc. So the law has second effects that could worsen the situation. So this is a very complicated topic. I don't have solutions for it. I'm just posing the problem for you guys. And yes, you have to be very careful. You have to, if you're going to introduce these technologies, you have to have very clear measures of performance. And always continuously checking your advancement to see if you're really adding value to the things you're doing. What are our challenges? For example, now the entire country could be running on foreign servers. Every time you use the WhatsApp platform, your data is traveling out of Chile, and somebody else is using your information. Yes, true, WhatsApp is encrypted, but still, even though it's encrypted, it has a lot of information about you. When you're using it, your activity patterns, the length of the messages. Also, there are encryption methods like homeomorphic encryption that Of course, if you read it, it's trash, but still giving information away of you. So maybe we're not protected at all. The other thing is that the governments need to foster their societies, the corresponding societies, in order to help those societies, in this case Chile, to acquire this value and improve the Chilean society. And they also need to educate the people around these technologies to make the things easier. I already talked about privacy. We have biases. We've been talking in all our societies about bias, gender bias, race bias, all type of biases. So those are very complex topics. Then you have sometimes these machines get confused. We shouldn't trust them in all the things they do. And this is for me the most important topic, is that we engineers, the people that build these systems, we should take care and think of the effects of the things we create. We are responsible for them. So the mixture of ethics and artificial intelligence is one of the hottest topics right now, and it's probably the most difficult one. And we should do more research on this and come out with solutions for the Chilean market. This is something that happened with one of our clients. We have an artificial intelligence that's recommending products. The artificial intelligence detected that the person that was buying a product was a diabetic, people that have problem with insulin and sugar. And the machine determined that the best way of increasing the ticket, the amount of money obtained by the company in selling these products, was giving a Super 8 to this person. Is it right to sell a Super 8 to a diabetic? No. Wrong. Because that person always went to buy his medicine with a child and bought the Super 8 for that person. So this is very complicated. Should the company take the decisions for the people? Should we say, no, I don't care, this is a problem of the person? But what would happen if the newspapers get this company the case and say a company was making more money because they were selling Super 8s to diabetic people? Sounds awful. They can destroy the company. So this is a very complicated thing. This is a case we detected, but it didn't really happen. But we detected the possibility of it happening. So we care about that kind of thing. So we have to take care about ethics more than ever. And we should help the government to work on this. Okay, I think we're ready, but do you have any questions?
For a speaker? Pablo, I'll start with a question. So you mentioned that we are very far away from this portrayal of artificial intelligence in the movies. And I was wondering, in your opinion, how do you see artificial intelligence affecting education, specifically teaching in the classroom? So, because we have different resources today, but what do you think will be the major effect of artificial intelligence in teaching?
That's a very interesting question, because some years ago I participated in a research project with the Universidad Católica and many other universities, where we tried to develop an artificial intelligence that observed the student learning through a computer and trying to adapt the content in order to capture the attention of the student, to make the learning process more effective. But it was too difficult. But the complicated thing is the following. There are already in the market systems that translate between different languages, and they summarize text and translate it much better than people. So how is people, for example, my kids at school, going to compete with a machine that's better than them at processing text? So the meaning of teaching some things has changed. So we have to revise what we have to teach the students. Yeah.
Are you sure? Nope. Up on the second floor, there is one. Come on. All right, Pablo, thank you very much for coming today. And I think we're ready for your questions. So if you are so kind to show us your questions, please. All right, you may start with your tests. You have 30 minutes from now. 20 minutes. I'm sorry to interrupt, but before you guys leave, I'd like to apologize for the inconveniences we had today and the price. I'm really sorry what happened again. All right, you might continue. 10 minutes. 5 minutes. One minute.
All right, time's up. Stop writing, please.